story.
So do you got a theory on like the Adam and Eve story? Cause I got a theory on Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. I ain't gonna care.
Do I have a theory?
Like, so what you think when you think about that story? What you think?
See, here's the thing, and I was thinking about this the other day. I'm glad you brought it up. All this stuff ain't nothing but metaphoric, right? Really, in my opinion, all this ain't nothing you gonna read from any religious text is basically literal. All this shit is metaphoric, and you gotta really like piece together the moral compass that they're trying to guide you on in your own mind. So when they say God punished Adam because he basically would listen to Eve and strayed away from his will, in that sense, God is your purpose. Because think about it as such. When you get distracted by simple things such as lust, fortune, value, women, all these things, think about all that. That's when you straying away from your purpose. Because you know you have a job to do. You know you have a responsibility to better yourself in any way, shape, or form, right? So when you have a responsibility to better yourself in any way, shape, or form, any type of distraction will lead you away from your true duty. And there's always going to be forces at play to push you away from said duty. So in that sense, that's why I say like a lot of this is just metaphoric. The people who take it literal and try to follow the Bible word by word, that's not how you live life. Because in its sin is inevitable.
Yeah, I mean you gonna take it. I mean the Bible is metaphorical in a sense, but I mean you can take it like that. But my perception of the Bible, because I mean it's like I feel like it's probably 3 different ways you can take the Adam and Eve story. Like you can take a metaphor, like how he was saying how Adam and Eve can just be a metaphor for a man just being distracted, right, and losing track on what's important. And that's one way you can take it to a metaphor like that. But also, right, Adam and Eve, when you break it down, when you look at it, so Adam and Eve, they didn't know they was naked, right? They was able to communicate with animals. They was able just to get things from the land just without. They was able to just do a lot of shit. They was one with nature, basically. You know what I'm saying? So you could also take it as in Adam and Eve were the first spiritually conscious humans, because at a certain point, once they learned knowledge, they was cut off from being able to communicate with animals and shit. They was disconnected from being one with nature. You know, so you can take them as the first intelligent or the first spiritual humans. Because when you learn about like history and science and shit, like humans come in like different stages. Like right now we got us, but before us you had archaic humans. Before archaic humans you had fucking Homo erectus, you had Neanderthals, you had Denisovans, you had different cousins and branches of humans. But, you know, so it was different types of other bipedal, 2-leg, you know, walking, you know, tool-making people on this earth besides us. So, point is, you can take it as that, but if you also learn about, like, just different religions and cultures, these people called the Anunnaki and shit, right? Yeah. So, basically, the Anunnaki is basically, like, this higher being, like, this basically, like, this alien race of people who came down to earth, you know, enslaved like early humans to do like some type of work for them, and they basically also taught humans different sciences and different shit like that. And they came from a planet like Nibiru or something like that. And but yeah, so once you learn about the whole story, and that story come from the ancient Mesopotamians, more specifically the ancient Sumerians. Once you learn about that story and once you learn about that culture, you'll learn like a lot of Abrahamic beliefs comes from older Middle Eastern cultures and stories, aka ancient Sumerians and ancient Babylonians and stuff and people of that nature, right? So when you think about it, okay, boom, Adam and Eve, right, were in this place called the Garden of Eden, which is guarded by angels. God supposedly was able to keep track of them anytime, anywhere they was going. You feel me? They didn't have to grow their food. They didn't have to work for their food. It just came to them. They didn't have to worry about natural births. They didn't have to worry about Eve. Didn't have to worry about periods. You know, they didn't have to worry about death. Any of that type of shit, right? And the whole point of the story of Adam and Eve is the fact that, okay, boom, Eve listened to the serpent. The serpent basically told Eve, hey, just eat this apple. Once you eat this apple, you gonna know the truth. Eve gave in, right? And she realized the truth. She told Adam. Adam was like, hey, I don't know what she be eating this. God told us not to eat it. I don't think we should eat it. You know, and a lot of different stories, right? You know, one thing about a man, bro, a man is weak to women.
Yeah.
So at that moment in time, you know, and the forbidden fruit can represent so many things. Forbidden fruit, 9 times out of 10, wasn't an actual fruit, but it represented something that led to them learning about the outside world. So she was able to convince Adam to eat the fruit. Adam ate the fruit. Adam and Eve had realized they was naked.
Yeah.
Once Adam and Eve ate the fruit, they realized it's like they woke up. It was like, what the fuck? Where the fuck we at? Like, what the fuck? Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So at that point, they realized that they different from animals who walk around naked and shit like that. They was ashamed of being naked. So it was like a fucking flip switched on, right? And they was hiding from God. So you would ask yourself, like, okay, boom. God is supposed to be all present and all knowing. How the fuck can you hide from God? Why in the Bible is God looking for Adam and Eve, right?
And then you all knowing,
you supposed to already knew they was gonna eat the fruit, but at this point you looking for Adam and Eve and they hide from you. So in the Bible, when God finally finds Adam and Eve, you know what I'm saying, and figure out that they ate the fruit, God mad as hell. Like, I told y'all not to eat the fruit. Then in the Bible, God says, oh, man knows good from evil, just like us. So in the Bible, it tells you, and this is another thing, Elohim. So in the Old Testament uses the word Elohim a lot. When you learn about ancient Canaanite religions and you get religions, Elohim basically referred to Elohim is God, with an S, God's plural. So Elohim, for the most part, represents a council of people, not one person. El usually represents the head of the council. So you'll have titles in the Bible like El Elyon, and when you break it down, it were multiple L's or heads in the Bible, right? And Yahweh is just one. But anyways, so God in the Old Testament, Genesis, man knows good from evil just like us. So that goes to show you it's more than just one. But the Christian narrative interpreted over time to try to convince you that the story was a monotheistic story. But once you learn about Christianity, it started off polytheistic. And over time, it became a monotheistic story. So, back to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, okay, they got into it with God, and God kicked them out. And he was like, okay, now y'all finna have to deal with real life. Y'all gonna have to deal with hardships. Y'all gonna have to deal with birth. Y'all gonna have to deal with period pains. Y'all gonna have to deal with the weather. Y'all gonna have to deal with the death, with everything. Y'all gonna have to go get your stuff and go. But when you think about the story, it make you think, was the Garden of Eden really a fucking human zoo? Was they getting experimented on? Think about it. Adam and Eve weren't original. It weren't natural births. Eve in the Bible came from Adam, meaning she was a test tube baby.
Yeah.
They didn't have to work for their food. Everything just came to them. They didn't have to grow food, so it was like they was in a fucking an artificial condition like a zoo.
Yeah. To
where animals in the zoo don't have to go and hunt for their food or go find the nearest pasture. They got food on command. They got meat coming.
Yeah.
If you're a fish in an aquarium, you don't have to go find other fish to eat. They gonna throw fish in the water for you. They didn't have to worry about that. They didn't have to worry about food. They didn't have to worry about natural births. They didn't have to worry about death because they was maintained. They had health care. They also had people provide for them. It was, quote unquote, angels guarding the Eden, so they had fucking soldiers or guards or military or something of that sort.
Yeah.
You feel me? And obviously, the fact that God says they know evil just like us, just showing like it's a group of people there.
It's a group of people that like.
It's a group.
Yeah.
So it makes you think. Okay, was Adam and Eve? Was the story of Adam and Eve? Was it signifying like ancient early humans who might have was genetically modified from the archaic humans who existed on Earth, who wasn't as smart as us? And that's how the modern human was created.
Yeah.
And because Adam and Eve ate the fruit, which basically means they found out about the outside world.
Yeah.
Is that how we, come about? Because when you think about it, the fact that they got kicked out, they got kicked out from eating fruit basically means they found out about the outside world. They realized they was naked. They found out what the fuck. There's more than this than just here.
That shit could have been an antidote. It could have been an antidote.
Like
you said they were getting the spirit and all.
Like it brought them, like it woke them up.
Yeah.
It could have been.
It could have been against the natural. It could have been against like whatever the forbidden fruit is. It could have been like it could have been simply information.
Yeah,
all you know.
I think it was more so information. I feel like it was more so like, hey, let me come show you something, or hey, come in this room and
or hey, these people. That God ain't who it's in.
Let me show you. Let me show you what's behind all these trees. Let me show you it's a room with computers in them.
That show is
monitoring you.
It's someone watching you. It's somebody watching you grow there, manipulating you.
Right.
All this food, this artificial stuff they bring. I understand where you're coming from, for sure.
So what if Adam and Eve was a story about people who were really like getting genetically modified, engineered, and basically rose in a human zoo, and they were the first of the new breed of humans who differed from the archaic humans who weren't as evolved and intelligent as modern Homo sapiens. So it just makes you think, because when you learn about the Anunnaki story, and when you learn about the Bible period, and the Bible tells you fallen angels came down to earth and made it with man.
Yeah.
When you learn about Anunnaki stories, the Anunnaki basically came down and did the same thing. They came down, right? And basically, they had a original slave race known as the Gigi on Mars. But the Gigi basically said, fuck this shit. We had enough of this shit. So basically, they came to America. I mean, not America, but they came to Earth. And they seen what was already on Earth.
Yeah.
They took the archaic human that was already on Earth, genetically modified, and created a superior human.
Exactly.
You feel me? And that's part of the Anunnaki story. But basically, in the story of the Anunnaki, they were higher intelligent beings that manipulated the genetic information of the archaic humanoids that was already on Earth. So when you look at the story of Adam and Eve, and you realize that, okay, boom, Eve was genetically modified. She didn't have no parents. They say Adam didn't have no parents.
Yeah.
If they didn't have no parents, what could that mean? Because if you were using common sense, he didn't take mud and just create a fucking human.
That was genetic sample.
If we taking the story of Adam and Eve, literally, Adam and Eve is a story about genetic modification.
Yeah. If you taking it at its most literal, for sure, because that's understandable. That's why I say all this shit is up to your interpretation, for real. Like, when it comes, like,